Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are, and welcome to another NerdTube Star Trek episode review. We're here tonight talking about Strange New World Season 3, Episode 7, What is Starfleet? I am joined by my Trekkies in arms, Zam and Lord Donkey. How are you tonight, Zam?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Donkey, how are you, boss?
Oh, pretty good. Hang in there.
Excellent. Um, so this week our episode that has a framing device, this faux documentary. But other than that, kind of as a bottle episode, no ties to kind of any of the character plot arcs that we've seen for the rest of the season. Um, let's start with some like overall thoughts. Zam, what were your impression of this episode?
Well, this episode might be called "What is Starfleet," but you know what? This series should be called "What is Strange New Worlds" because it feels like it's a series of gimmicks, and this is just another one that's added to the long list of gimmicks that we had. And we also know if your head's not been in stuck in sand, that next season we're going to get a puppet episode, so the gimmicks will
Yeah,
continue. So
till morale improves.
like, can we just not
Absolutely.
have some cleverly written episodes without all this fanfare and stylization? Can we just not have some decent? I mean, the whole well, people rejoiced when this show came on was announced that we're going to get TNG style, TOS style Star Trek where it's more episodic. But all we're getting now is just bizarreness, and this is just added to it. I've heard people give their opinions on this episode regarding the or more ethical sides of it, but I'm going to be straight up. I was not entertained by this episode. I was bored to fucking tears, and I want to talk to you about it a little bit more. But I'm kind of giving too much of my game away. I'll pass it on to
Oh,
Lord Donkey.
yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. This season has been the what if we had X in space? What if we had a documentary in space? Um, I was glad to see that there was a point to having Erica's brother around all the time. He was kind of
Mm-hmm.
interesting at first, and then kind of wore on us over the last few times we've seen him. Um, it just I don't know. There's something about this episode that I'm not sure about. It was okay. It was maybe it's what you were saying, Zam. I wasn't necessarily entertained, um, and I don't know that the documentary style works for Trek. Um,
Yeah, where
I
every camera shot was from a actual camera, like a drone or a
mhm,
webcam, a Star Trek fleet version of
mounted
that.
to the stations that hey,
Yeah.
we're now just learning that they're mounted at stations.
So it was copying things like Chronicle and Cloverfield, and most recently the War of the Worlds film with Ice Cube. That sort of style.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It yeah, it's just it's I don't know. It wasn't it's kind of an average episode, but we'll get into it.
All right. Um, So we start with Umberto's documentary where he's beginning to like the Federation to an empire, using out of context clips and quotes. But he hits on an important question or a theme of Starfleet as a paramilitary organization that's kind of something that we've previously discussed here
Hmm.
during our reviews and on our podcasts. Just this nature of Starfleet.
See, that bit I like because um, lots of classic Trek will be the Gene Roddenberry utopia Star Trek of the perfect future where we're just explorers. So it reminded me of Discovery season 2, where it's like, no, Starfleet's got some lots of skeletons, and let's talk about Starfleet not being the good guys. That part I appreciated.
yeah. I've had this thing regarding what is Starfleet because they're quite militaristic. with their ranking systems. Captains,
It's a
lieutenants, or
navy.
lieutenants. Yeah, it's a space navy, but at the same time, they like to consider themselves to be explorers. I do understand that they have to have weapons because they are in space and they are dealing with hostile forces. It totally makes sense. But I personally would not use a military ranking system in order. Maybe captain is about as close as I would get to one particular rank.
Mm.
But having admirals and lieutenants and all these sort of things, like it just feels too military. I would have different types of ranks in order to show where people are on the food chain when it comes to the hierarchy. But it is how it is now, so it's set in stone. So I don't expect that shit to change.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think it will. Um, the interview with Pike, then you have one with Spock, Lon, Una about the roles and duties of Starfleet officers. Then we find out about kind of this episode's problem of the week, which is planet Lutani 7 has been attacked by its sister planet Kassar. 9 million casualties to the 119,000, respectively. Kind
Bit of
of
Starship Troopers
numbers.
going on, but a milder version, so to speak. If you think about what was going on between the two planets, you know,
Mm.
I'm not sure if you guys see it from that perspective.
I was kind of seeing it as they're trying to have some sort of allegory to modern day of a um, overwhelming force versus underpowered that's getting slaughtered.
Israel,
And
Palestine,
yeah, that
Russia, Ukraine.
Russia, Ukraine,
Yeah,
I could feel some hints of that, but um, I don't know. They brushed past the who the people are in the fight that for half of the episode I didn't know. Like, wait,
well, it,
who are
it
they
was a bit like
helping? What are they
Avatar.
doing?
It was a bit like
Yeah.
Avatar, so as well. Look, I'll be very honest with you. I dozed off several times watching this
My
episode.
husband dozed off.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't blame him. And I had to keep going back. I watch it for a couple more minutes, doze off again. Oh shit, I've missed all this stuff. Go back, and I wasn't enjoying myself doing this. Like
Um,
it was not engaging me at all. Because this style, this style that they were doing, it was so immersion breaking. That I couldn't keep up with what the hell was going on, and I was losing interest. I really was. It just didn't engage me whatsoever.
Would you have finished it had you not have to review it tonight?
Yeah, of course, I would. It's Star Trek in the day, and you know what, mate? I'm glad you mentioned that because one of the things that grinded my gears before this episode aired was I noticed how short it was. It was only like
Yes,
41 minutes.
mhm.
Yeah, and I thought
40,
to
right?
myself,
I was
this
going to
this is
bring
this,
that up.
and I thought
Go
to myself,
for it.
this is bollocks. But then
Mhm.
when I saw the style, I thought, yay! I'm so glad this is short because I don't think I could handle anything longer than this.
Um,
So in a way, it was a blessing.
yeah, I saw some comments about that on Blue Sky, and people asking what happened to the missing 10 minutes. Like, what did they cut out? And does it have anything to do with modern day politics or the whole Skydance thing? We'll never know. But
If it,
yeah,
if anything that might have resembled the sky dance thing would have been completely coincidental. I mean, because of when Sky Dance Merger happened to when this was obviously being filmed and
mm,
released and yada yada. So
I think Donkey was saying that they might have pulled it in light of that.
yeah,
Might
yeah, I
have pulled
agree.
some
I
sort
I,
of
I
something.
agree.
yeah.
Yeah, I also agree to that as well. So if it did happen to resemble that, it was completely coincidental. But yeah, I agree. At the same time, if they did pull it, yeah.
Mm,
So the Enterprise is set to deliver cargo. What it is classified and on a need-to-know basis. Um,
mm,
it's this Jakaru a creature, and they're going to need to be at half impulse to tow the thing through space. They're got to go pick it up from, I think it was a moon Tychus B.
Something like
But
that.
yeah, when they get there, a Lutani scout ship arrives and starts to fire on the Jakaru, which defends itself with a massive surge of radiation.
And I can't even remember any of this happening.
We go back to where they're getting their briefing about it, though. This is where I think I have some problems because Pike is just very. It's classified. Any questions? Or he just. It didn't feel like Pike. It didn't feel like the character we've come to know, and being very dismissive of the crew and playing up way too much this idea of we're just following orders, which real life situation, sure, it's not something that's um, an acceptable excuse in court in modern day. We're seeing that with our lovely National Guard deployments in Washington D.C., where it's people reminding the soldiers you can't just use "I was just following orders" as an excuse. But yet here we have Pike very quickly brushing off, "Oh, it's classified. It's
I,
classified.
I,
Can't tell you
and
anything."
for me, it was like the fact that because they were actually being filmed,
Mm-hmm.
that all of them, like they could, it was very hard for them to even be themselves.
Yes.
And obviously they didn't want
Well,
to give the game
but
away at the same.
that
Yeah,
didn't work in the other episode where Pelia got her camera shot, right? Where they were being filmed during a classified briefing and they were just normal crew briefing with Pelia
when
being silly.
you're talking about the architect,
The Tomb
the
Raider
architecture.
episode?
Yeah, the Tomb Raider episode. Is that
Yeah.
one?
I think so. That's where they were they had him in the briefing room
Yeah.
and they were just talking about the classified mission very
No,
openly.
I agree. It didn't merge well, and if anything, it would have been good to see some of the film footage that he actually took from the previous episodes in this
Mm.
episode to a degree, which
Yeah,
then
it could
leads
have
up
been a
to
clip
this.
show.
Yeah, so, yeah, something along those lines. So yeah, it was obviously if this is what happens when you have different directors. Yeah, so
Mm.
yeah, I think there were different directors for each of these episodes. I'm sure they couldn't have the same director for all of them, but
Because
yeah,
wasn't
this
Frakes last week?
possibly, you know,
Oh no, he was the
Week
Adventures in
before.
Space.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The one where it was the show.
Riker maneuver was
Yeah.
performed.
yeah.
But yeah, it just felt very odd, different in that briefing room, and maybe it was because of the cameras, but um, they question orders all the time, and in this one instance, he's saying, you know, just follow orders.
Well,
We're
this
just
is
doing
once
what we're
again,
told.
and as much as I don't like to defend this episode because I thought it was shit. Um, I do understand the mindset, the mentality, that you know we have to kind of show that we're you know that we're not a mutinous sort of crew. You know,
Yeah, they were
we
capable of
can't
just
yeah
following
we
orders
can't
and
we can't
being the
always question our captain's decisions every 5 seconds. Or what's the point of having somebody in charge if we're going to constantly challenge what he has to say? Something along
yeah.
those lines. So
Yes.
but yeah. So that sort of stuff didn't bother me. But honestly, a lot of stuff you're mentioning so far, mate, I'm finding it hard to remember everything. And usually, I jump onto Strange New Worlds the very moment it's released, first thing in the morning here in the UK. But I actually watched it this afternoon. But I thought to myself, if I watch it later in the day, I'll probably remember more stuff. And I don't remember jack shit, but I kept falling asleep.
I mean, I found myself kind of looking at the time on my second watch. So
For a short episode as well. That's crazy.
for
Yeah.
a short episode, that's a very
Yeah.
good point.
I usually watch over my
Yeah.
lunch break and cut it close to getting back from lunch, and this was like, oh wait, I have some time.
Not a problem you want to have with your shows that you only get 10 episodes of per season.
Right, that's the big thing, and that's where I think we're. It's almost like I want to give them some slack because they only get 10 episodes, and I understand they have to cut some things and fit a lot of things together, but at the same time, because we're getting so few episodes, we're losing some of that quality we used to get.
Yeah.
Even what Discovery was 13 episodes, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm making that up.
Uh,
Anyway,
it was serialized, but like this isn't, and I think that like without maybe I think they're too afraid to regurgitate stuff that we've already done before. But
yeah,
I've always felt that even things like Voyager has regurgitated stuff TNG has done, and Voyager, regardless of the premises being set in the Delta Quadrant, it did feel like an extension of TNG to a degree, with its problematic things they had to deal with, and I just think that these guys can't find ideas that are too original without maybe
Hmm.
going back to the well, so they have to come up with these
they,
gimmicks.
yeah, they've kind of put themselves in a corner because they have to try a little bit to not mess with the canon of TOS too much, and they're trapped between the Discovery and Enterprise canon. And it's yeah, what do you do with these characters
Well,
that
they've
hasn't
ruined
already
that
been
canon.
done in 60 years of Trek? Yeah,
Well, they've already kind of ruined the canon by what they've done with the Singh character and like now like Noonien Singh Khan Noonien Singh that is
I never
from a
understood why
different
did we
part.
need to have a Noonien Singh on the ship. That she could
Well,
have been
it's
her
just
own character.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is
season
why I
four
want.
Discovery had 13. Season five had 10.
I mean, they've already played around with the timeline now, so I don't know what the fuck's going on. And to a degree, I don't care too much anymore. Like, I want to be entertained at times, and I
Mm.
appreciate good Star Trek, and I do feel Strange New Worlds, even though we're all very excited about it initially, it's become a bit of a letdown. It really has, which is a shame because something like this it should tick all the boxes for us. But if it's not, it's a bit
Mm.
it's a bit campy and silly in the wrong way. Star Trek has been campy and silly at times, but this is not doing it. So like, just give us some smartly written episodes. Like just give us that.
Yeah. There's some good nuggets like that throughout, spaced in the episodes to a degree. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
we're not
agree.
getting that as a overall arc or as a
Because
as yeah, go ahead.
this episode itself is really good regarding the actual story of this episode. It's very good. It's very Star Trek, but they done it in this documentary style, which is probably ruined what could be a very very good Star Trek episode. Something to really bring it back to its best, because this would have been, in my opinion, a really good episode of Star Trek if it was done just a normal way. But no, they had to do it this way, and it's ruined it.
Mhm.
You know, I don't
Yeah.
know what you suggest, Mage. If you got any comments on
What do
that.
you, yeah.
I don't think it didn't ruin it for me. I can see where you're coming from, but for me, it didn't necessarily ruin the episode. But uh, he starts with this thesis that he can't support and then ends up backing off of after being convinced by Uhura, basically,
Mm.
near the end of the episode. And so, I mean,
And the
I don't
horror as
know.
well,
If you're
like
going to frame it with a documentary, maybe use a strong documentary. with a good thesis that you can support. I don't know. That's just me.
I also think sometimes episodes like this needs to be like maybe a season 6 or a season 7 sort of episode
Mm.
where there is so much of this show that's already been done that it warrants a bit of difference, and also, by the way, the other series had like 26 episodes a season, so
Mm.
obviously this is not the case. But
And we know
you,
we're
you,
cut
you
off at 5 here.
yeah, exactly. So I just don't feel an episode like this is warranted so soon. I mean, we're only in the third season. It feels too early for this, you know. So it's another
Yeah,
issue I have with this style.
Mm.
doing out their episodes later on when you already know that you're at the end of life is just
Mm.
makes more sense. Maybe since they
Yeah.
know they're gonna get all 5 seasons, they just don't worry about cancellation, so they're taking more risks.
Yeah, but only 6 episodes in season 5, which is seems
Yeah,
to
I don't
be
think
however
they
you agree
overputting.
with that.
Yeah,
I don't think they can just trust that season 5 is going to happen. I mean, it's if they sign something, I'm sure uh, the new Paramount overlords can figure out a way or say, well, ratings were so bad that we changed our minds or something. But I
yeah,
don't mind them doing a different one-off episodes. But we talked about this last season where we had the crossover with Lower Decks, which was great, and it was different, and it was um, a good one-off, different style episode. They turned right around and did the same thing with the musical episode, where this one of those could have been in this season to space that kind of stuff out.
I
You know,
agree.
kind of
Yeah,
go with the formula that works and give us more of everyone's backstory and give us more of everyone's um, getting to know each other. Like that's one thing that the last episode that we didn't like the twist, but they did a good job with setting up Kirk and Spock and Uhura and um, who else? What Scotty was there and Chapel. It
yeah,
did a good
yeah.
job of that interaction,
It-
like giving some time to that backstory. And I think that's what this show needs to focus on if it's trying to be pre TOS, pre year one kind of thing.
Like one of the best episodes. I'm really sorry for tangenting here. Was the one where they started to lose their memory a little bit. Do you remember that
Mm,
episode? They were on that planet, and
Yeah.
mm,
they had to wear the metal helmets. That was a brilliant, brilliant episode. It was such a cleverly written episode, and the way someone like Pike, even though he was forgetting who he was, he still had the instinct of being Pike, and that kind of bailed him out, regardless of him forgetting and stuff. And then once they got those helmets on their heads, they were able to remember stuff because the radiation wasn't affecting them anymore. Brilliant, 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 brilliant. We don't get enough of that. That was a great.
mm,
That's a Star Trek episode. We don't get enough of that, and that's what
mm.
pisses me off. We're getting all this people singing and all this shit. You know what I mean?
I like the
You know,
singing.
I didn't mind it, but once again, that should have been a later down the line where we could appreciate it more because we've been with these guys for such a long time. Not a season 2 episode. It was too early for something like that, in my opinion.
I think they are
So
assuming that we're gonna love these characters just because they've slapped the name of
yeah,
somebody that's a beloved character on there instead of then having to earn it through characterization.
yeah. Like the whole Chapel and Spock thing, it ended before it even started. I'm still waiting for Ortegas to have that unique episode about her. I mean,
Mm.
another good thing about Star Trek was
She
all
needs
of
a
these
special
characters.
someone.
Yeah, all of these characters would have an episode about them. Even in season 1, there was a great episode where they were in this, where Uhura kind of earned her strike because she had to use her communication skills, and I think they were talking to this entity, and all of that. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. We're not getting enough of that. You know what I
Mm.
mean? we're not getting enough of that. We, if anything, we got, fucking. Remember when me and you were talking about how pissed off we were with Ortega in season 1, but she kept coming up with quips all the fucking time, talking back to the captain. Like, it was really pissing me off. They were doing that. Anyway, sorry, I'm going all over the place. My gripes and grievances are ruining the review of this episode. I apologize.
Airing of the grievances.
Airing. Yes.
That's so
Go
good.
for it.
What?
You want to continue, Mage?
Sure thing. So they recover the pilot, but during the encounter, Spock felt the Chikaru's kind of anger and hostility. In sickbay, the pilot calls the Chikaru a mistake and then promptly dies before giving any real information.
Yeah.
Peace out.
This is it.
Right?
This is a new race, yeah.
Yes.
They're outside of
Okay.
Federation space
Tony.
too.
Mm-hmm. So we don't know if they ever join up or not.
One of the two planets helped the Klingons during the war.
These Lutani, I think. So,
right. So it was like, why are we now helping them?
Yeah, it's a good question. Probably mainly because they're getting slaughtered so bad, or alliances that could be a triple. Forgetting the name of the alliance that started World War I now, but that's neither here nor there.
Powers. Yeah.
Or
I don't remember.
So we cut to one of the Umberto sequences, and he is interviewing Dr. Mbanga now, and he asks if he's killed before. They ask if he's ever scrubbed the sickbay security footage, which how
never done that before.
No, never ever. We cut to an interview with Uhura where he reveals that her roommate from the academy went down on the Cayuga.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
Yep, it does. Phrasing.
Oh.
The ship
on the Cayuga, man, tasted bitter.
So she apparently didn't know until Umberto told her. In the ready room, Pike is on a redacted call with command, and that kind of, we never know what kind of Starfleet's reasoning is for helping these people. It just seems like kind of maybe it was a cop out to not have to write that.
It was Admiral Charlie Brown's parents.
Once again, this documentary style has ruined any sort of cohesiveness and understanding of what's going on. But we're getting elements here, elements there, but we truly are not getting an idea of what's happening in this episode when it comes to the understanding of Starfleet. What is Starfleet? Well, I don't know, because we're not seeing a fucking story develop in front of us. And then I was like, okay, I just can't garner an interest because it's very jarring watching the show this particular way. It's not enjoyable. You know what I mean?
I'm starting to agree with you as I'm sitting here picking it apart.
Yeah.
I think while I was watching it, the found footage was like, okay, it's the documentary style. It reminded me of found footage style. And I remember Doctor Who did this episode like that, and it was like, this is okay, but it doesn't really, I don't know, it's not the best. So
it's okay to refer to found footage or footage, but to have the whole show like this, no way. You can have like certain things can be shot like this if it's like this because it's the first time you're watching it, and so this is how it's supposed to be. But we know what Star Trek is already prior to this episode, and it's never shot like this. So to see it now shot like this, I found it really hard to appreciate.
I can see how it'd be especially off-putting for the old school fans. If it's, excuse me.
And sorry, mate, I apologize. And if you are going to do it like this, then at least write it better. Do it in a way, edit it better as well. I mean, the editors are to blame for this as well. Make it understandable, make it cohesive. Make it you know, make all the bits and pieces that you're splicing together make sense once we start to watch it, because unfortunately there are lots of holes in this, and so it was very difficult to grasp.
You have to just kind of take their word for it, scene to scene, that
Yeah,
this is what's
The,
going down and
the,
why.
doc- the documentary itself is like didn't they mention in the first few episodes that this is for the 100-year anniversary of the Federation, and they just have one random journalist on the flagship recording classified missions, and I get the interviewing the crew part and giving us a portrait of the crew members and asking questions, but the rest of it, it doesn't really
Star,
work, and it doesn't. Yeah, there's Cheeto
the
or
yep.
Cheeto.
I appreciate the attempt, but this was a poor story to do. The thing is, Tito, I want to appreciate the attempt. But if anything, I just feel that the story. Well, I'm the opposite with you. I think the story was very good, but they ruined a good story by doing it this way. I think there was a really good story immersed in there, but to not just give it a
Yeah,
regular standard sort of style of viewing, but doing it this way, they've ruined what could be a really good Star Trek story, in my opinion. Yeah, hit that like button, motherfuckers.
Yep, and subscribe. You're watching NerdTube. So Jakaru breaks out of its containment field and the neural dampener that they've had on it, and I start getting thoughts of Final Fantasy VI and Terra's Slave Crown.
That's where I got Avatar from, because and stuff like that as well. Seeing that thing, this giant
see,
butterfly in space.
it
Yeah.
took me back to Doctor Who and the 11th Doctor's first standalone episode, the space whale, where they kept
Oh,
shocking
Yeah,
the
yeah,
brain.
yeah. And
Like
they soured the milk.
when they first got to
Yeah.
this planet, and oh, there's a creature. I thought, is it a space whale? So I'm glad it was more of a space butterfly or dragon or something.
yeah, they referred to it as a dragon at one point. Which it
No,
doesn't
thank you,
even.
Cheeto. He's in line with me.
Excellent. It's good to know. He is missed. We cut to Pike orders them to follow it, and the weapon my note makes no
Yeah,
sense here. This style was ruined on this story, Cheeto says.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Um,
I agree. I agree with that.
it we cut to an interview with Lon. She has to explain what makes her a good security officer.
Wearing
Uh,
tight outfits that make her look like another version of a Black Widow officer.
Cousin Cheetah would be 100% in line with that also.
Yeah, she could play a Black Widow in future MCUs if the way she pulls off those outfits, and also she's banging Spock as well. We also saw a bit of that too.
he made her
Yeah,
coffee.
yeah,
Uh, he asks Lon what it's like to kill. In the science lab, they realize that the dampener is a shock collar. And Uhura says that they should try communicating with the creature, and that we find out Spock has kind of this mild psychic connection with it, because why not? Vulcan
well,
brains.
it has to be Spock, isn't it? Like,
Has to be. Yeah.
any
Who
sort
else
of
would it be?
telepathic communication. Like, all right, get Spock.
Yeah,
Let's do
it
some.
was
Let's
it,
do
it
some.
was giving me Spock mind melding with V'ger a little bit.
Yeah, but in space
This
without
makes
touching the
sense.
character.
Yeah.
More Umberto and Uhura, more Pike and Una talking. They don't like the situation, but they have to follow orders. On the bridge, Uhura tells Pike of her and Spock's kind of plan to try to communicate it with it, but he shuts it down. We
Yeah.
get some. They fire the the new dampeners via torpedoes, but it blasts the Chikaru blasts the Enterprise, and Berto gets kicked off the bridge in a tense moment. He can thusly uses security footage of the bridge, which we find out they keep. They try to get away from the creature, despite Lon wanting to blast it. Berto further interviews Erica and ends up talking with Uhura. Says he claims that they're acting like colonizers. Uhura feels like she's been being used this whole time, gets upset and leaves.
Yeah.
Puppies and
I
Two
mean,
puppies at the same time. Dogception.
first of all, just a quick comment here. I like you. You like God damn it. You like Jeb Bush, but you didn't vote for him in the last general election. I mean, sorry, I like Jeb Bush.
Please
I
clap.
don't like him. Yeah, please. I
We'll
don't like
always
how
remember you for that.
yeah, how they are writing. I mean, honestly, it's how they're writing everybody, to
It-
tell you the truth.
yeah.
I mean, Chapel is just one of many characters that are really given unusual treatment by the writers. I think the only person who's getting a lot of love, because he's literally getting a lot of love, is Spock.
Mm.
He's
Spock's always been the most popular.
he's becoming a serial shagger now, which I thought was,
You know,
yeah,
he must have been the one that inspired Kirk and later Riker.
yeah.
I mean, apparently back in the 60s, the housewives were all thirsty for Spock back then, too, was the
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah, we
Kevin,
mentioned that.
we did
We
gripe
mentioned that.
about the 40 minutes.
We mentioned that, and I'll tell you, and I mentioned earlier that how it did piss me off, but once I realized that how this episode was being filmed, I thought it being 40 minutes was a fucking godsend, because it was such a terrible episode. Anything longer, and it would be I need to kill myself territory. All right.
So Spock, Chapel, and Uhura take the Galileo to close in on the Jakaru, so Spock can remotely mind meld with it, like he did with V'ger, like Donkey pointed out. The Lutani warship arrives and accuses the Enterprise and the Federation of trying to steal Jakari. It promptly gets the Enterprise blasted with radiation. Again, they have to put Spock in a coma to prevent him from dying or having.
Does he actually work here at all? He just in a coma all the time.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So Pike and Humberto have a scene. Pike asks him if he's ever seen anyone die. Can't read my writing.
Pike has been asked if he's ever seen anyone die.
He said, yeah, and he asked him if he kind of says you wouldn't like it being asked about it. Mbanga says that the Chikaru's brain chemistry has been permanently altered, so Uhura volunteers to try communicating with it, and when she does, it asks the Enterprise to attack it and lead it to the star of this system. It's tired of being a weapon, and it wants to die.
Yeah, that was probably the most Star Trek part of it, of this fight.
Yeah,
that was a really good thing there. The moral conundrum and everything, just all of this, just like thrown in the toilet for a fucking documentary style episode,
or just to zoom through the episode and not do anything with a good premise.
Yeah, leave 5 or 10 minutes out.
Galileo for the win. Yeah, exactly.
What about the NX Enterprise for the win? Did we catch that on the wall?
No.
What was it? It was after they got attacked. The NX Enterprise was on a view screen somewhere in the ready room or something.
So Pike ends up telling the story
God, I can't
Of
believe I'm
course.
agreeing with Rick B. We agree with you, Rick B.
Oh, we've missed you, Rick B.
Rick B will probably like it now. All right, let's go.
Um, so Pike tells the story about having to put down a horse at 14.
Of course he did.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about horses with Pike this episode.
What is it with all
First,
these captains working on farms and shit, man? Like, yeah, we're good old folks, all folksy. We're in the future, but we all fucking work on farms. Fuck's sake, man. All of them. Sorry, I apologize.
it's okay. Um, so Berto or the command's going to allow them to take this thing and let it die. So they fire on it and they lead the Jakara to the star. Berto and Uhura talk again. Um,
Oh,
she says that he came there angry at Starfleet. He was looking for someone to blame for for his sister leaving. He's got an agenda. He's not trying to provide a counterpoint with his documentary. That he's not acting in good faith, basically, with his film. Which, if we cared enough to discuss it, I would say that he absolutely was acting in bad faith with his little film. But I think the framing device now is not liked enough to even bother discussing.
Hey guys, we've gone longer in this review than the episode. Yay!
Yeah.
We'll wrap it up soon.
Um,
I've got thoughts
had
about
something
the everybody in the future thing, but I'll save it for another time. So Una hails the Jakari vessel.
Yes, they do.
Oh,
So Pike informs the Lutani that Starfleet's shutting down its metamorphosis project. The bridge crew and those in the galley kind of watch as the creature flies into the star. They try to make it a sad moment, but we haven't had enough time with the creature to care.
this is where I felt like, because how often in a Star Trek series do we have the captain just disregarding orders and doing what they think is right? This should have been Pike just saying, "Hey, we're going to do the right thing,"
Mm-hmm.
and ignore our orders and not even check in with Starfleet. It
That would be
just
more in
felt,
line with Pike's behavior in the past.
yeah, the constant checking in and we're just following orders this episode. It just, this is
Well,
where that should have been broken.
once again, do you feel like because he was being filmed, he almost felt like he was shackled? You know,
I feel
because
like since he was being filmed, he would want to do the right thing since he's on camera, and not just be some schmuck that's following orders. But
I agree. It also makes you wonder: is it the only cameras on the Enterprise, the ones by the guy who's documenting them? Isn't there just internal cameras anyway, just to keep an eye on these guys?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, there are that he had to use footage from them at
yeah,
one
he
point
did.
because
Yeah,
he got
yeah,
kicked
he
off the
did.
bridge.
Yeah, yeah, good point. Yeah, so
So Erica is interviewed again, and she explains that she joined because she couldn't accept her mother's death, and out here in space, she feels like she's in control. Uh, Maybe that's why she's always was being so insubordinate in season one. But the crew is her family now, just as much as her little brother. In Una's interview, she says that the job is to bring hope and light. And that's what Starfleet does. Uhura says Starfleet gave her direction. There's a final scene with Lon and with Spock, and he says that he's been allowed to explore his humanity in ways that he never would be able to on Vulcan. And then we end with Berto getting invited to a party and the captain's coming.
everyone working on a farm for no money, every communist wet dream for you. Like, we're not talking like a whole bunch of fucking Mexican asylum seekers, mate. Like this is people working on their own farms, creating their own wine when they want, how they want, and we're living in the
Oh,
future now where it's not just farms, it's everything, every level of work where people work to better themselves, not to earn money, because money has no part in the future. And that's in every department, mate. Every single department you can imagine. So suck on that.
I mean, why wouldn't you turn back to old-fashioned ways of doing things if you had the time and didn't have the rat race to worry about?
hmm.
Yeah.
But no, that's kind of the episode ends with that. Um,
Just seeing that thing fly away in space.
Mhm.
Yay, suicide. I need to
it's
die. I'm sick and tired of being this bio weapon. I'm going to die. Like there's such a good story there, man. And a sad one, as well, and it's just ruined. I'm so upset. I don't give a shit about this. I'm more upset by that than anything else. You know,
yeah. Do you have any other final thoughts about the
me.
episode?
Me?
Yeah, Zam.
No, I'll let Adam go first. Let me just think about it.
Okay.
Hmm. Um, yeah, I agree that it had a good premise, and the creature and like we don't even see these two planets that are fighting. We don't get to know the people there, or why they're even fighting. But here's this bioweapon that's their equivalent of one side getting a weapon of mass destruction. So um, it's something we've seen throughout this season, though the series at this point, where it feels rushed. It feels like they left a lot on the cutting room floor, and it's it's okay, average, but it's not something I'm excited about now.
Yeah,
Rick can.
I gave a lot of my grievances very early on in this review. Um, Deeply disappointed with this episode because, as I said earlier, there is a very good episode in this episode which has been ruined by the documentation style. I don't like the fact that there's constant gimmicks in Strange New Worlds. Like every season there's a couple of gimmick episodes, and I mentioned we're going to be getting puppets next season, which is also more
Mm-hmm.
gimmicks. You know, these shows this show needs to really truly understand what it is. It's Star Trek, and it needs to be coming up with cleverly written episodes that even if it's instances that could be necessarily regurgitated, but then given a little twist here and there to give it some form of originality. Do that over doing this. You know, give us some. Come up with the odd thought-provoking episode. Come up with some stylized Star Trek style episodes. But don't give us this. This is not. This is
Mm.
not what we want as Star Trek fans. This is dross, and this is one of the worst Star Trek episodes I've ever seen, and this is not going to get a good mark from me. There's some comments here from a couple of people. Rick B says the way they've ruined the Spock character in the show is cool. I think for me, I actually like Spock in this show. He's still fundamentally Spock,
Mm-hmm.
and I like the fact that he's a serial shagger. Daniel Vance,
He's
did anyone?
Rigby's mad that Spock has emotions now, and like that a man has emotions.
uh,
Period is
Spock
triggering Rigby.
and and Spock is half human. People keep
Mm-hmm.
forgetting that he's not full on Vulcan. And let's
He's
never
mad that
forget,
they didn't
Vulcans
do.
have emotions. They just suppress them with
yeah,
meditation and
yeah,
shit.
and let's never forget that there are times where he has kind of shown some sort of emotional elements to him. I'll never forget Star Trek 6 when Kim Cattrall's character betrays Spock and he finds out. and the way he slaps the fucking thing out of the phaser out of her hand, like he's so fucking angry. He can't contain it because she betrayed him. His this was his prodigy, and she framed his best friends and betrayed Spock, and Spock slapped the fucking phaser. I love watching. I can watch that scene again and again, but it shows you that regardless, of who Spock is, there is an emotional layer in him, and that those things shouldn't be forgotten. The guy cares about his friends. He gives a damn. We've seen it. Even in TOS when he thought he killed Spock, when he thought he killed Kirk, and then Kirk was alive, when he grabbed him by the shoulders and was smiling. He was smiling. Like. Yeah, remember, let's never forget he's half human.
To hell with orders.
Yeah, did anyone else catch the off the hook telephone sound when Uhura is communicating with the creature? No, I'm afraid not. I was probably trying to stay awake. This
Hello,
episode
Daniel.
felt like somebody, Jesse Gender mentioned that. Daniel, this episode kind of felt like a Babylon 5 the news episode, which unfortunately I don't watch Babylon 5, so I couldn't. I don't know what the episode is, but I guess I understand the sort of style because it was, that episode was obviously portrayed like it was like watching the news, so I get it. Yeah, so yeah. All right. Oh, one more. Sorry. The writers grew up watching Buffy. That's why they're obsessed with gimmick shows. And Spock had emotions, but this version is just dumb.
He just doesn't like it because it's new.
Maybe they can do a Weekend at Bernie's with Leonard Nimoy's corpse, and
He'd
that
like
would be
that one.
acceptable.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
All right, let's mark it and go home,
R.I.P.
boys
Leonard
and girls.
Nimoy.
Zam, we'll start with you.
I'm gonna give it a 3, but I'm actually now gonna give it a 2. 2 out. Yeah, it's that bad. This is one of the worst Star Trek episodes of the modern era. It's really really bad, and I don't want them to ever do anything like this again. They've ruined. It gets such a low mark because they've ruined such a great concept, which should have been done the traditional way, not this stupid way. And enough with the gimmicks. Enough. 2 out of 10.
All right, Lord Donkey.
Wow. No, I mean that's fair. I think I started with kicking around started around a 6 or a 7, but I'm going down to a 5 now.
Really, that's a generous mark.
It's generous just because the underlying story was okay. I don't think it's worse than the crap twist that we got last episode. It's average. It's not great. It's not the worst. And yeah, I don't think they should do this documentary style again. It doesn't work. It could have been just, hey, we're doing parts of the documentary, reviewing parts of it, and we're just following the brother around while he's
Yeah.
interviewing people. It would have been nice to see him sitting there while he's interviewing these people to get his reaction to what they're saying rather than just cut to the next person, cut to the next person. So there was something lost there. And one sidetrack here, I want to bump my review from last week up by 1 point because I didn't catch the TARDIS that was snuck into the episode. So we've gotten our crossover.
It's TARDIS stuck in the episode.
When the Enterprise gets taken into the skull ship and it has all those tentacles around it, when they're panning into the bridge, you can see a TARDIS stuck on one of the tentacles.
I'll try to find that in my by mentioning
Mm-hmm.
TARDIS
Yeah.
episode 7, Strange New Worlds, and seeing if there's a picture of it out there somewhere.
10 out of
10. Because it sucked. That's great, Cheeto.
Gotta put that one up.
Is that what is your actual mark, Cheeto? I'm curious. What about yourself, Mage, in the meantime?
When I first watched it, my initial watching, I was like, I'm gonna give this an 8, and then we sit
Wow.
here, and it went down like to 7 on the rewatch because of pacing issues. And sitting here picking it apart with you guys, I'm gonna bump it down 2 more. I'm gonna go 5 with Donkey. It's middle of the ground and middle of the road. I mean, it could have been a lot better than it was, but they took what could have been a really good framing device and screwed the pooch with it, or they could have looked at his argument about Starfleet and colonization and looked at it with a better episode or more time spent on that, just that, and had a good episode, or could have done the thing with the Jakari and had a really good episode.
Well, 3 out of 10 for Cheetah. You didn't like it at all. I agree with Cheetah on this. Like wasted potential, and all of that aside, I fell asleep several times watching this episode and having to I'm angry with myself falling asleep watching this, having to go back to make sure that I haven't missed anything out, can't remember anything. But this is entertainment, and I did not find this entertaining at all. It was not entertaining. It was jarring. It felt really difficult watching it, which is why I'm glad it was only 40 minutes long, because anything longer would be painful, So
Zam, you're only allowed to fall asleep on reviews with us.
Yeah, fair enough.
Not
When
during
it first
content.
opened, I thought it was going to be a mirror episode. Given that a 7 out of 10. No. In your immortal words of Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando, wrong. Okay. All right. Zam fell asleep. That in itself is a seal of approval. Well, look, unlike now, which is 1:30 in the morning, so you can totally understand that. And I've just come back from work and I haven't even had a chance to get dressed, unchanged even. There is a reason why I do fall asleep, but to fall asleep during the day when I'm watching this, it's unforgivable. It's Star Trek. I shouldn't be falling asleep watching Star Trek. A brand new episode. It's unforgivable. So,
all right. So this has been our episode review of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, Season 3, Episode 7. I want to thank you guys for joining us. Thank so much for staying up late to be here and do this, Sam. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donkey, for being here as always. Appreciate you holding it down with us. Thanks for being in chat, Cheeto, Daniel Vance, Rick B, everybody else. Welcome back, Rick B. And so don't forget to subscribe, like this video, share it out. We do lots more than just Star Trek here.
Well, I'm hoping tomorrow, because Peacemaker came out today. I'm hoping to get Peacemaker. See, I never got into Dexter, and
I'm behind on it.
So yeah, Peacemaker. I'll try and get a review out for that, and I'll ask around.
Are you still doing Alien Earth, Zam?
I'm still watching Alien Earth. Are you watching that?
We are.
We need to review that together. If that's the case. But maybe episode 4, but I'll try and get a review for Peacemaker as soon as I can. Maybe I'll get Ginger.
Cheeto says he's supposed to be back next week.
Oh, wonderful. And by the way, Ginger doesn't like Peacemaker because it's James Gunn. So
gotcha.
When he sees James Gunn, he's like,
he's done.
Stand back, demon, vile demon of Satan, spawn of Satan. That's how he is with crucifix and shit. All right.
So yeah, plenty of reasons to subscribe to the channel. So you hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. You've been watching NerdTube, the best channel that you maybe sort of kind of heard of. Live long and prosper.